Good morning, Year 8. Today we're going to start our new topic on equations, and this first lesson is reviewing equations, which means we are revising what we learnt in Year 7, which is mostly 1 and 2 step equations. So the first thing to remember when solving equations is that you always want to do the opposite operation to help you solve it. Add and subtract are opposites of each other, and multiply and divide are opposites of each other. So in question 1a, if I'm trying to find the value of k, the k is with the plus 13. The opposite of plus 13 is to minus 13. We want to do that to both sides of the equation so that it stays balanced. That way, the plus 13 minus 13 will cancel out, k is by itself, and then we subtract these numbers on the right hand side. 15 take away 13 is 2. Okay, so that's a one-step equation. Let's do a few more like that. In B, we have e plus 8 equals 19. The opposite of the plus 8 is to minus 8. That will get rid of the 8 that's with the e. E is now by itself, and we subtract 19 take away 8 to get 11. Part C. T take away 10 equals 23. The opposite of minus 10 is to plus 10. And that will leave T equals 23 plus 10 is 33. Moving on to part D, we have y take away 12. The opposite of the minus 12 is to plus 12. To get rid of that. Okay, then y is by itself. Minus 3 plus 12 is 9. So those ones were all adding and subtracting. Now we're moving into the multiplying and dividing ones. So in part E, 3a equals 9. When the 3 and the a are next to each other, that means that they are multiplied. So the opposite is to divide by 3. Now instead of doing divide signs, I do fractions to divide by 3. That will get rid of the 3 in front of the a, and 9 divided by 3 gives an answer of 3. Let's do another one like that. F. 8x equals 56. So again, that's times, which means the opposite is to divide by 8. That will get rid of the 8's, and then 56 divided by 8 gives 7. In G, r over 8, the over means that we're dividing by 8, which means the opposite is to times by 8. That will get rid of the 8's on the left-hand side, and 12 times 8 is 96. H, v over 10, the opposite of that divide by 10 is to times by 10. That will get rid of the 10's on the left. V is by itself. 10.7 times 10 is 107. Okay, so up to this point, they have all been one-step equations where we've either had to do 1, add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Moving into the next ones, we are now going to two-step equations, and we know these are two steps because when we look at our m here, we have got a 2 and a 3 that is on the same side of the equation as the m. So there's going to take you 2 steps to move them both away. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is which one to do first. The easy answer to that is that you start further away and you work your way towards the m. Or, another way to think about it is that the m has been multiplied by the 2 first, and then the 3 has been added. So you need to reverse the layers or peel the outside layers to work your way towards the m. Either way you think of it, that 3 is the one that needs to go first. So the opposite of a plus 3 is to minus 3. That will get rid of the 3 on the end there, and then we'll have 2m equals 13 take away 3 is 10. Now our second step is to get rid of the 2. It's multiplied with the m, so the opposite is to divide by 2. Gets rid of the 2, m equals 10 divided by 2 is 5. Make sure you show all your working out. Let's do J. So we have 5r plus 6. So the plus 6 has been tacked on the end there, so it needs to be removed first. So we need to subtract 6 to get rid of it. 5r equals 26 minus 6 is 20. Then 5r, the opposite for that 5 is to divide by 5. And r equals 4, because 20 divided by 5 is 4. K, we have 8b plus 2 equals 26. So the first thing to do is get rid of the 2 here. So the opposite is to minus 2. That will give 8b equals 24. Second step, to get rid of the 8, at the moment that's times, so the opposite is to divide by 8. b is by itself. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Part L, 6a plus 7, so the plus 7 needs to go first. The opposite is to minus 7. Do it to both sides. That will leave 6a equals 37 take away 7 is 30. Then 6 times a, the opposite is to divide by 6. And that will give a equals 30 divided by 6 is 5. Okay, on to the next page, still more practice. So we have 3a take away 5. So the take away 5, the opposite is that we want to add 5. Okay, cross out the bits that are cancelling, and we get 3a equals 20 plus 5 makes 30. Then the 3 times a, the opposite will be to divide by 3. A is by itself, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. For part N, 5x minus 3, first thing you want to do is get rid of the minus 3. The opposite is to add 3. And that will leave 5x equals 37 plus 3 is 40. The second step, 5x, the opposite is to divide by 5. And that will give x equals 8. Part O, 2g minus 6. The opposite of the minus 6 is to plus 6. 2g equals, now be careful with your negative numbers here, minus 10 plus 6 is negative 4. You can use your calculators to help you with these if you need to. Then, to get rid of the 2, I need to divide by 2. That will leave g equals minus 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Part P, 3p minus 5, the opposite of the minus 5 is to plus 5. That will leave 3p equals negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Then divide by the 3 to get rid of that one, and p is equal to negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. Part Q, 10 or 5 plus 10a equals 35. Usually we're used to having the 10a first. It's kind of been switched around here. So these are together, and the 5 is actually the one that needs to go first, even though it's written at the beginning, which is unusual for us. So the opposite of this 5 is to minus 5. That will get rid of that, and we will have 10a equals 30. Then dividing by 10, we get a equals 3. Similarly in R, the e is over on this side, so we want to get rid of the 8 first. We're going to minus 8. That will give 3e equals 29 take 8 is 21. Then divide by 3, and e equals 7. In S, we have x over 3 plus 2 equals 5. So the x is back over on the left side like I like. The 2 is over here on the side, so I'm going to minus 2. That will leave x over 3 equals 5 minus 2 is 3. Now, because the x is on the bottom of the fraction, that means that that is currently being divided, and the opposite is going to be to times by 3 to get rid of the 3 on the bottom of the fraction. That leaves the x by itself, and 3 times 3 is 9. Let's do that again. Y over 2 plus 4, I'm going to have to minus the 4 first. That will leave y over 2 equals 3 take away 4 is negative 1. Then the fraction is divided, so the opposite is to times by 2. And then y equals negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. U, x over 4 minus 5. So first we need to add 5, which will give x over 4 equals 8 plus 5 is 13. Then times the 4, and 13 times 4 is 52. Part V, w over 7 minus 3, the opposite will be to add 3. So we have w over 7 minus 2 plus 3 is 1. Then times the 7, and we get w equals 1 times 7 is 7. Okay, moving on from there, we are doing some more here. Example 2, we're just going to be changing the way the fractions look in some of these. A is still starting with a familiar one though. So if we have t over 5 minus 3, because the 3 is on the side, we're going to do that first by adding 3. And we have t over 5 equals 7 plus 3 is 10. Then the divide by 5, our opposite is to times by 5. And that will leave t equals 50. When we look at B, we still have two numbers next with the m there. Now, because the 5 has a fraction line underneath it, we can't get to that 5 until we get rid of the 6. Okay, so the 6 is the one that needs to go first, and because it's a divide by 6, our opposite is to times by 6. Okay, that will leave 5m equals 10 times 6 is 60. Then we are going to divide by 5, and we get m equals 12. Okay, here's another one like that. 4m over 7. The first thing to do is to move the 7, so we want to times by 7. And that will leave 4m equals 12 times 7 is 84. Then dividing the 4, we get m equals 21. In D, minus 2 and the 9 are the numbers that I want to move, but we need to do the 9 first. So the opposite is to times by 9. So minus 2D equals 12 times 9 is 108. Then the minus 2, even though it's negative, it is times with the d because it's right next to it. So I need to divide by negative 2. I'm dividing by a negative number. That will leave d equals 108 divided by minus 2 is negative 54. Part E, a minus 2 over 3. Again, if I have a fraction, I can't do anything with the things on the top until I get rid of the number on the bottom. So the first thing to do is to move the 3 by timesing by 3. That means the fraction is gone, and I just have a minus 2 equals 4 times 3 is 12. Then the opposite of a minus 2 is to plus 2. And that will leave a equals 12 plus 2 is 14. In F, again, we need to get rid of this fraction first, so I'm going to need to times 3. That will get w plus 8 equals 2 times 3 is 6. Then the opposite of plus 8 is to minus 8. That leaves w equals 6 take away 8 is negative 2. For G and H, we are now going on to 3-step equations because we have 2, the -1, and the 3. There are 3 numbers on the same side of the equation as the x. So like we were saying before, if there's a fraction, before you can do anything with the numbers on the top of the fraction, you have to get rid of the number on the bottom. So the first step is to times by 3. So that's 2x take away 1 equals 7 times 3 is 21. The second step is going to be the 1. The opposite is 2 plus 1. That's 2x equals 22. Then the final step is, because the 2 is times with the x, we're going to divide by 2. X is finally by itself. 22 divided by 2 is 11. H, another 3-step equation. Starting with the 6 on the bottom, I need to times by 6. We get 5h plus 4 equals 2 times 6 is 12. Second step is to get rid of the 4, when the opposite is to minus 4. That will leave 5h equals 12 take away 4 is 8. Then, to get rid of the 5, we divide by 5. And this time, we can't divide 8 by 5 and get a nice number. So we can leave it as 8 over 5, or we could change it into a mixed numeral, which would be 1 and 3/5. Next page, I. Okay, so the x is in the second position of that equation, which means we're going to be starting with the 4. The opposite of the 4 is to minus 4. So that leaves 5x over 2 equals 9 minus 4 is 5. Then the next step is to get rid of the 2, and that we need to times by 2. That gives 5x equals 10. And the last step, divide by 5, which gives x equals 2. For j, we have one big fraction, which means the 9 is going to need to go first. We times by 9. That gives 4y plus 15 equals 27. Then we're going to get rid of the 15 by minusing 15. That's 4y equals 12. Then, last of all, the 4, we divide by 4, and we get y equals 3. Question K. Again, the x is on the side here, so the 7 is sitting over there by itself. I need to get rid of the 7 first. The 7, the minus that's here belongs with the fraction. The 7 is actually positive. To get rid of the 7, I'm going to need to subtract it. Okay, so that means I still have a negative 2x over 3 equals 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Then get rid of the 3 from the bottom of your fraction, so times 3. Get rid of that, and we have negative 2x equals negative 6. Then minus 2 is times with the x, so we divide by negative 2. X is by itself. Minus 6 divided by minus 2 makes a positive 3. L, 4x over 3 equal 4x plus 3 over 5. Get rid of the fraction first by timesing by 5. That gives 4x plus 3 equals 12 times 5 is 60. Then the next step, we're going to minus the 3. 4x equals 57. Then divide the 4. And unfortunately, that's one that doesn't go nicely. So as a mixed numeral, that is 14 and a quarter. Okay, there is one more type here to show you, and this would be the challenge questions for today. because these ones have two fractions in the equation. There is a few different ways that you can do this, but because we've just done our topic on algebra, we are going to add those fractions together first, because that's familiar. We've been doing that recently. To add these fractions together, we times the 5 with the 3 to get 15. Then we times diagonally 6x times 3 is 18x, and then plus 2x times 5 is 10x. And we're just going to leave the equals 28 on the end. Then we add together the top. 18 plus 10 makes 28x over 15, and that's equal to 28. Then we've done the fraction part. Now we're going to start solving the equation. So we're starting to do our opposites to get the x by itself. The first thing to do is the 15. I'm going to times by 15. Gives 28x equals 28 times 15 is 420. Then, to get rid of the 28 in front of the x, we're going to divide by 28. That means the x is by itself, and 420 divided by 28 is 15. Okay, let's do one more time. So these fractions over here on the side, we need to put those together first. I'm even going to put them on the left-hand side of the equation because we like having our x's on the left. So to do this, we are going to multiply the 7 with the 3 to get 21. Then we times the top fraction diagonally down. 3x times 3 is 9x. Then minus 7 times x is 7x. And in the 4, we're swapping sides to go that way, so equals 4. Okay, now collecting up our fraction here, 9x take away 7x makes 2x over 21, and that's equal to 4. Now we start solving the equation. First thing to do is times 21. Get rid of that. 2x equals 4 times 21, which is 84. Then divide the 2, and we get x equals 42. Okay, so it's quite a bit there, but there's a lot of things to revise from last year. You now need to go to your workbook and do pages 3 to 9.